All right, I want to welcome you all to my YouTube channel. It's called The Big Black American Secret. And what the Big Black American Secret is that you are not from Africa. You are an Aboriginal American right here from the United States of America. And this channel is dedicated to proving that to you over however long it take. You know, it's not something that can happen probably quick, but it's just something certain things that I can show you legal documents, eyewitness accounts from historical books, people who hung out with Aboriginal people in the 13, 14, 15, 1600s, and who gave descriptions of the people who they saw, which were your relatives. So right now, I've got a treat for you, because what I want to prove to you is, or try to prove to you in this thing, it's a document that it's a PDF, and this comes from a person who I follow and have been following, and his research and his chronology are excellent, and I suggest any and all people who can check out his YouTube videos. His name is Kurimio Aha. He's got a series. This is part one, from Indigenous American to African American, by him, Kurimio Aha, and I think there's 19 videos in that one series. Every book that he mentioned, I have, because these things are awesome resources. But he talks funny. In my opinion, he's a spiritual fella, but we all should be spiritual people, because religion limits spirituality, but that's another discussion for another day. But long story short, I'm gonna see if I can turn this camera around. Well, I might not be able to, so I'm gonna just show it to you. It's a PDF of a couple of pages of a book. The title of the book is Indian Slavery in Colonial Times Within the Present Limits of the United States. And I'm going to read that again. You can probably look that up or buy it. Indian Slavery in Colonial Times Within the Present Limits of the United States. And I was looking through my book that I have here. It's Indian Slavery in Colonial America. And it's from the author Alan Gallay. But it actually does talk about this very same thing, but it's not as detailed. And that's why I like this one. I'm going to read, and look like it comes from page 149 to 150 if you get the book, if you run across it, I don't know, at a library or something like that. Books like this cost a lot of money, and they cost a lot of money on purpose. They don't keep them in libraries, again, for the reason of it's stuff like this that blows the lid off the lie. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you a little backdrop here. And this is something that was going on, let's say, prior to 1676. There was Indian slavery, and some people will throw in African slavery, but really it was just Indians from other parts of the United States who were put on ships and brought to those different places. Any black person who came off a ship was considered an African slave. And I'll get into the proof of that later on. But right now, I'm going to read this thing, which is... Oh, I'm sorry. I got a little sidetracked. Before there was full-blown slavery, chattel slavery, there was indentured servitude. And this is something that started in England, and they adopted it here in America. Originally, it was a way for people this is how they paid for their voyage over to the United States, because again, if you're poor in England and you got no money, but you want to come to America, then someone here in America, somebody who got a farm or needs some labor, they'll be waiting at that dock for people when they come off, English people, white people, and they'll set a contract with you for a certain period of time, usually 7 years, and then after 7 years you would get your freedom. So that's exactly what they did in cases of the Indians as well. It's called indentured servitude. Now, I said that to get you kind of prepared for what I'm going to read, and also too, when Indians, when English people had a problem with when the English people had a problem with the Indian people, English people had a problem with the Indian people, then in this passage, they're trying to find a way how they could solve this problem. Because usually, when there's a conflict, the Indians could be put into slavery or sold as slaves. And that's how the English would make money that way, or just to get rid of somebody who they consider a problem. If you were considered a friendly Indian or a praying Indian, that's an Indian who has adopted the religion of Christianity and who was helping them in some way, form, or fashion. Okay, so that's a little of the backdrop. Now I'm gonna read this, and again, it's from the book Indian Slavery in Colonial Times Within the Present Limit of the United States. It says, at a meeting November 24th. Oh, I'm sorry. Basically, this passage is gonna prove to y'all that Indians were black, based on their laws, white people's laws printed in history. Okay. At a meeting, November 24th, 1676, the Connecticut Council decided upon its method of procedure. A committee was appointed to meet at Norwich on the second Wednesday of the following December to discuss and settle all surrenders according to order. And those surrenders were Indians. All Indians to have the benefit of the declaration must then and there appear. So any Indian involved in this, it was something that went on. Remember I said it was something went on causing these Indians to be considered a problem. Whatever it was. That's not what I want to get into right here. The English considered them a problem, and they made a declaration saying, hey, all Indians to have the benefit of the declaration must then and there appear. So they saying, hey, if you was involved in this situation, you need to show up on this day. Okay. After that time, all those who had shown hostility to the English were excluded from the privilege, and were to be dealt with as enemies. See that? So I'm gonna just keep reading. As were also those who should hide or harbor them. So, if you was part of the problem or the situation, because at this point we don't know what the problem was, because that you'd have to go into the backstory. But anyway, we know that there was some issues, and Indians were involved, and it's a problem. So they're saying, look, here's how we're going to fix this. We're going to invite the Indians who are involved to come to this meeting, and if they come, they'll tell. We're going to situate what's going on. If they don't come, they're going to just be considered straight out enemies. Any person who harbors them is going to be considered an enemy as well. Okay. The notice of the council's actions was to be sent among the various Indians of the colony. Again, they give them notice about them showing up. The instructions of the committee appointed directed them, among other things, to take all young and single persons of all sort to put into English families to be apprentices for 10 years. Okay, so basically this is saying what I was giving you a little bit of preface about is indentured servitude and apprenticeship. It's the same thing. Basically saying, okay, your young child is going to be put into an apprenticeship program for a number of years. You meaning they're going to work for free for a number of years, and then they'll be freed from the apprenticeship. That's a way of paying the debt that you owe for the disturbance that you caused. Hope that makes sense. Okay. After that, they were to be returned to their parents on proof of their own and their parents' fidelity. Fidelity means, in this instance, if the parents were good citizens all throughout the child's apprenticeship, then the child will be returned to them. Basically, if the parents adopted Christianity, was helping white people, or just all in all they felt was pretty good people. Then they get their child back. You starting to see, are your wheels turning a little bit here? Okay. Otherwise, they were to be sold into slavery. So, if they didn't consider you a good person, your child will not be returned to you, and they're going to be sold to flat out slavery. Now, that could be, at this time, it probably was another indentured term, or it could be chattel slavery. I'm not sure at this point, but definitely slavery, because it says it right here. And slavery took two forms at best. There was indentured servitude, and then there was chattel slavery. Chattel slavery is slave for life. Indentured servitude is a contract for hire. Maybe, you work 7 to 10 years, whatever. Okay. In general court, the general court appointed certain persons in each county to receive and distribute these Indian children proportionally, and to see that they were sold to good families. I guess in today's terms, that'll be almost kind of like child and child service. the division of child services. They're gonna adopt your child out to a good family. How do you know it's a good family? How do you know they're not pedophiles? And they don't care. They just, as long as they're getting paid for it, But anyway, I digress. Right? Those counties which had already had some share of the surrendered Indians and captives, or which had too many Indians already, were not to receive as many as the other counties. So, you see what I'm saying? It was a conflict that happened prior to this, because they had already had some surrendered or captive Indians that had been dispersed as slaves. See what I'm saying? Or servants, or indentured servants. Doesn't say here. It's not specific, but again, that's what it is. The Rhode Island authorities also limited the bondage of Indians to a period of years. On May 18th, 1652, the colony passed a law that no black mankind or white should be forced by covenant, bond, or otherwise to serve any man or his assignees longer than 10 years, or until they became 24 years of age, if they be taken in under 14 from the time of their coming within the limits of the colony, and at the end of the term of 10 years, they were to be set free, as the manner in which English servants. Now, this whole passage, from beginning to end, was talking about Indians and Indian children. But here, the Rhode Island authorities also limited the bondage of Indians to the period of years. On May 18, 1652, the colony passed a law. A law. A law is written into the books. It's not a thought. It's not a whim. It's documented facts. They passed a law that no black mankind, Indian, or white should be forced by covenant. See what I'm saying? We're talking about indentured servitude. White people were indentured servants. They weren't slaves. They were indentured servants. They worked for a time of service, and then their contract was over. Indians at this point in time too were either chattel slaves or indentured servants. In this case, Indian children, indentured servitude, says here in plain English. On May 18th, 1652, the colony passed a law that no black mankind or white. So black mankind meaning Indian. See what I'm saying? The proof is everywhere. But our brains have been misdirected. We've been taught and beat over our head that we come from Africa. No, we've always been here. This is our land. This is our continent. This is where we're from. There are things like this hidden everywhere, and I'm gonna bring them to you. on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day. When they come across me, I'm gonna send them to you. Now, again, this is my YouTube channel, and it's called The Big Black American Secret. And I just told you what that secret is. The secret is you are an Aboriginal American. You are not from Africa. You never have been. And the proof is everywhere. Matter of fact, I got a little more time. I'm gonna give you a little bit more proof. I'll pull it up on my computer, but you can look this up on your phone. I want you to go to Google and type in well, first answer this question. Oh no, okay, you can do the same thing. Go to Google and type in what is the color? What is the color? What is the color of a copper penny? Copper penny coin. Okay, what is the color of a copper penny coin? Now, I'm going to see what comes up. Okay, I'm going to read the first one that's on the screen. It's got a bunch of pennies on the screen, and hopefully you can see this pretty good. But I'm going to read this first line right here. Or more of it, but we'll definitely read the first line. It says, copper Lincoln pennies arranged by darkened shades of red to brown. Okay? So, a copper penny is a red or brownish color. That's what this definition says. Okay? So, and if you take a penny and put it against your own skin, you'll see that it compares to the color of your own skin. And I don't have a penny here, but I bet you what,